Okay, so this is a demo we did. This is one of the first demos we've done together. And this was for a Spark masterclass in Vancouver. And I actually forgot to record I forgot to record the drawing, so I apologize for that. But it was just a quick sketch. The idea trying to get you something to paint over. This is kind of this polluted city, these concrete, faceless buildings. There's a bit of a graphic on one of the buildings back there, but there's a whole idea behind this that we won't get into, but maybe we can talk a bit about it with some of your references, this kind of polluted city.
Yeah, really you're designing for the scene and the story and the feeling. So just because Robert did this beautiful drawing doesn't mean that I don't think about what he was thinking about. I still kind of collect references and what kind of feelings am I trying to hit, So, after Robert did this drawing, actually over the lunch break, I just kind of did a lot of Google search and just collected a bunch of references, and I'm just sharing a few here as an example. One is this image where this kind of a thick, atmospheric, kind of foggy morning in the city. But what I like about this is that the highlights, the lights are just kind of, coming through the fog, through the atmosphere. And I always love that feeling of thick fog, but the light doesn't get affected. The light comes through it, It's highlight on the top of the buildings. And this was one inspiration I had, is if this is this heavy kind of a, polluted kind of a plume of smokes, what would that look like? So I pulled that together. I ended up actually not using this particular reference, but
the feeling of this is pretty accurate, right? Yeah.
And then this one is, this kind of gave me a really good inspiration in a way, that everything is so subdued and
makes everything really graphic.
Yeah,
right? Everything looks so graphic.
And I love that simplicity. Like I kind of saw that in your drawing a little bit, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna start that. So with those reference materials, I just started painting. And my process, I just kind of block in all the sort of shapes, almost kind of creating silhouettes. Mm-hmm. The reason why I do this is that this way I don't have to worry about constantly kind of matching the drawing, because that might slow down my, painting process. And I don't want to slow down. I want to paint really quick so that the spontaneity is still there when I'm painting.
It's interesting because you've blocked in our characters to have local color, but everything else almost looks like it's in atmosphere already.
Well, that's a good question. I went through like a different routes. Actually, I did the local colors of the characters first. You can see how I'm blocking just the simple local colors of the characters. But in the building, which you'll see later, but I actually added colors after. So in a way, as you can see now, that I'm actually painting almost the fog right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you would do that at the end, but in this one I actually did it opposite, and I'm actually adding atmosphere on top of the characters. So in the end you get this kind of feeling, mm-hmm. right? Almost like that reference, the very monochromatic feel. But I haven't added added a local color to the buildings just yet. Mm-hmm. The reason why I did that is I thought I could show the people who came to the workshop that you could go either way. At the end, it doesn't really matter which you go first. In the end, what you're trying to achieve is to create this mood in the end, but there are number of ways to achieve that. Mm-hmm. So I almost kind of got this monochromatic, atmospheric, foggy town feel, and I was liking it. I was liking the feel of it already, and I'm like, how much local color do I want to add it in? I don't know, because I'm really liking this gray town. Yeah. Should I keeping the local colors to be almost monochromatic? Is that right for the tone? But of course, for sake of showing how I can add local colors on top of it, I decided to do it anyway.
Right. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. Like I feel like similar to you, like I feel like, oh, this is almost a stopping point. I mean, but for the point of the demo, it's like I kind of want to see more.
Yeah.
So you started to go in and talk me through right now the idea, like the illuminated eyes kind of thing.
I thought it'd be just like you're saying, like, this feeling of this kind of crowd behind the mask, so you can't really see their expressions, but then all you see is their kind of eyes, like, reflection on the glass of the mask eyes, eye holes. I thought that would be kind of cool. As we talked about in another reference, that the light comes through the fog, so all you see is see is the reflected lights kind of on the glass.
Yeah, creepy.
Kind of creepy, right?
Yeah.
I thought that would be kind of fun to play with that.
Got it.
And now I started to add local colors and local details of the buildings where I ignored in the beginning, which you could do that whether you're just painting on top of it and you sort of controlling opacity, or using adjustment layers to add shadows and stuff like that. So just enough to give indication of like how these buildings are formed.
Yeah. Right, it works really well here because your local color variation is very limited. Just the rooftops almost are catching bits of color and stuff.
Exactly.
What are you doing here? Oh, this is the graphic.
And now the graphic of this frog character, right? And I thought it'd be
It's
kind
like
of
a
fun in this kind of really cold, kind of a simple, kind of industrial city, but then the graphics are almost the opposite, like this kind of fun, kind of playful, in a way kind of brings this kind of playful fake quality to the character frog.
So what's going on here? We're adding a little bit of light.
So now I started to think about adding light using this adjustment layer technique we all often talk about, and let's get into this kind of little bit in detail. So basically what we do is add this adjustment layer. Oftentimes I like using hue saturation adjustment layer, and then this menu comes up, hue saturation menu comes up, and then you have this extra layer. That's your adjustment layer. Now you can play with the color that you want to influence on top of.
So you've clicked the colorize box here.
I always try to do that. The reason why I do that, I almost think of it as like this is the light source. What's the color of the light source? I'm thinking about like this kind of early morning color. So I'm just adding this kind of a slightly yellowish, bright kind of orangey color. And then I turn it on to overlay. So the layer has to be overlaying.
And it's really important actually, like that you are also brightening the value because it's light. So it's not going to darken. It should brighten.
That's really
what's
important.
underneath it.
When you are adding light to the scene, it should never go darker, right? If you are adding light.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we make that mistake. Oh, the light has a color, but when you add color to the light, sometimes you think it could actually go darker, which never happens in life. It always has to go lighter. That's the only way to keep everything feel illuminated. So it's brighter, and then you have this overlay layer, and now I'm painting into the mask layer. So the mask layer, if it's black, it's nothing, transparent, and if it's white, it's opaque, so 100%. So you can actually paint into the mask layer of this influence of
The hue
saturation.
Adjustment layer.
Yeah. So now I'm just adding the rim light. These characters catching the light, the rim light. See, I'm painting into the adjustment mask. And still, I'm constantly adjusting the color of the adjustment layer. That's what's great about adjustment layer. You can change the parameters later. And now this feels like, okay, this is somewhat what I think. And then sometimes, if I need to punch it up, like I duplicate the same exact layer. So you maintain the same color, sort of light source color, but you can punch it up by just duplicating that.
And of course, it's important in this case that it's on overlay. The layer property is
right.
overlay. That kind of creates that contrast to bump up.
Right. Sometimes if you just keep it at normal layer, then it gets chalky. So overlay tends to work pretty well. So now if I like the light, I duplicate that layer and I bring it over to whatever the layer that I want to do the same kind of lighting effect. So here I want to light this middle ground building.
And so using the same layer adjustment.
Same exact adjustment layer so that it's consistent.
Got it.
And now I'm painting into that layer.
Magic. Cheating,
Magic.
Huh? Is this
totally
cheating?
cheating.
No, this is a great, actually, this is fundamentally a way of thinking about lighting. So,
Exactly.
this is something that maybe John Singer Sargent didn't paint like this.
He
but at
did,
the same,
yeah.
Oh, he did. He had adjustment layers.
In his head, yeah.
But I think the reality of this is very similar to, or at least as a process in thinking, close to CG lighting.
Yeah.
In a way.
And that's what I like about this. This really forces you to paint the light.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about just painting what it looks right. You're actually painting, you're almost like kind of illuminating the scene using this layer technique.
Mm-hmm.
And by isolating your problem from everything else, you're not worrying about the local colors and stuff. That really forces you to think about light. And if you are struggling with lighting, this is a great way to kind of simplify your process.
Great.
And now I have this light. I feel like, okay, this is pretty much how I like the lighting to be. And I brought this kind of a texture technique. I wanted to show it to the group because I like, especially in this kind of a foggy environment, I wanted to make it feel like there's this kind of dense kind of particles in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the watercolor scan. I did the scan of the watercolor on paper, and basically I changed the color. I put it over the whole thing, and then I changed the color, similar to the palette, and then I overlay it. See how different it is. This is before and this is after. You can get the feel of this fog even more, and also it cuts down some of the edges that sometimes
The CG quality.
To it, that you can actually just soften it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, this is what I have.
Very cool.
Yeah, your masterpiece drawing, and then
Oh yeah, you
my
made it
humble
better.
painting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool. So, this is kind of touching upon what we've taught in our schoolism course.
Mm-hmm.
But if people are interested, we go into much greater depth in our schoolism course on how to approach this technique and utilize this technique in painting concepts.
Yeah.